Hello, welcome to Better Business Podcast. My name is Alexei, and I am your host. Look, it's been a bit of a break for me. I'm just back on deck now. It's 15th of January, and I've got lots of interesting content coming up, lots of interesting guests as always. But I thought I'd kick off the year by talking about goals. Now, I know most of you are probably thinking, hey, goals, New Year resolution, boring. Well, look, I think it's important to start focusing on the right things. And look, while having goals about business and focusing on targets and KPIs is all good and well, I think it's also very important to think about your holidays for the year, because I find that a lot of people start the year really strong, and by the time it's about March, April, Easter time, people are burnt out and tired and really just want to get through things faster. So I think it's really important to start looking up to something, things that are coming up, things that are exciting, things that are about leisure and relaxation. So I think planning your holidays or your travel for the year is definitely one of the things I recommend most business owners to start with, because um, most of us start planning way too late, which results in things overlapping or potentially other things getting in the way as well. And a lot of the time, we don't really get a chance to get away for as long as we like, because running a business and getting away for a month or so does require a fair bit of planning. Now, I don't really like getting away for too long. I think a couple of weeks here and there works a lot better, especially if you make it interesting. So I think as most business owners, it's really more about disconnecting from the business and really having a bit of peace and quiet. There's something magic that happens when we go overseas, and I think it's mostly to do with the fact that we don't really check our phone or email as much. I mean, some do, but it's the overall change of scenery. It's a change of environment that really gets us I guess, new feelings, and it really helps us just uh, helps us disconnect from what we do on day-to-day basis. So it's really got to do with our mindset. So I think it's very important to focus on holidays and leisure early in the year so that you can actually plan that through. For myself, I try to get away a couple of times, and the last couple of years have been a bit difficult for me. Obviously, having three kids, three young children under five does make things fairly difficult. And I'm sure any listeners with kids would relate. But at the end of the day, if you don't plan, it's very difficult to get sometimes the momentum going, because sometimes at the end of the week, the last thing you want to do is sit down and plan. You just really want to get some time off so that you could spend the time with the family and disconnect from the business. So I think if you reverse things around and potentially start focusing more on holidays early in the year, I think that would really help you identify some milestones and really make them more meaningful, because everyone's like, hey, Easter's coming up, or another event or so, but a lot of the time we haven't really planned anything big enough in order to disconnect. And look, it doesn't have to be major. Here in Brisbane, you can travel for an hour in either direction. You'll find something interesting to do. There's the Gold Coast, there's the Sunshine Coast, there's the hinterland, and there's a lot of small things that sometimes people don't really explore. I find that playing with tools like ChatGPT allows you to identify some things that other people are doing, and this is really quite eye-opening. Sometimes you think, hey, why haven't I thought of anything like that? And with our kids, we've been going to things like farm stays and so on, and sometimes it's not really what you expect them to be. I mean, typically they're in quite scenic places with things to do, and it's just really all about, I guess, spending quality time with the family. So quality time is really what you're buying there. So what's really holding you back? A lot of the time we tell ourselves a story about things that we can or we can't do. And I think a lot of the time this really goes way back into your upbringing. We believe in certain things being a certain way, and then we basically put a price tag on everything. And oftentimes you may start thinking, hey, I'm not in a position to plan a holidays or go overseas. But the human mind works in such a way that once you start planning, once you set a goal, then everything else starts sort of falling into place specifically for that goal. Obviously, if that goal is a realistic one and you can actually make it measurable and date specific. And look, this approach is called SMART goals. If you really want more about it, I suggest checking out Brian Tracy. It's really more about being more specific around your goals and understand exactly what it feels like. I think for most of us, we find often in business that we are, doing things by ourselves. It's always quite lonely to run a business, and it's quite good to catch up with other business owners. So I definitely recommend business networking and catching up with business owners. Now, if you're a time poor, I guarantee that you've got a couple of business owners that you really like catching up with. So why not catch up with them in some sort of a mind, in some sort of a mastermind type concept. This is what I do sometimes with some of my customers, and it's amazing how much I learn from them. And oftentimes, it's interesting to see what other people are doing, which is where it gives you sometimes some confidence to do other things as well. So my advice is make sure you surround yourself with the right people this year, and try to get the support that you need. I mean, oftentimes we are supported by our loved ones, people close to us, but they often can't help us with our business. And this is where sometimes getting someone to think outside the box or different, how they sort of approach their business, can really help broaden your mindset to sort of understand what else could be done. So overall, I think you should really be looking for things like inspiration and motivation, whether it's catching up with people, listening to podcasts, attending networking events, listening to audiobooks, whatever that may be. But I think you definitely need to focus on that if you really want to stay on track and not feel lonely in the world of being an entrepreneur. So oftentimes, I guess we're really looking for direction. So I think there's no magic bullet here. Everyone's very different, and I think a lot of people like to sort of give you a very generic sort of structure to follow. And for some people, it's easy. For some people, it's difficult. Well, look, we all have got very different personality profiles. We think different, we act different, we've got our strengths and weaknesses. But I think at the end of the day, it's important to start thinking about what is it that, what is it that you want? What is it that you want to get at the end of a quarter, 6 months, a year, and so on and so on. And more specifically, what is it that you're planning to do to reach that goal? I think if you focus on your holidays first, it's easier and it's pleasant, which sort of gives you the energy then to start doing other things as well. I think a lot of people just focus on the numbers and the milestones of their business so much that they often forget about everything else, and this ends up in being burnt out. And obviously, this isn't the feeling that you want. So if you start feeling a bit, tired from the business and so on, maybe it's time for a break, or at least planning for holidays or so. And like I said, it doesn't have to be anything major, just a disruption to what you do on day-to-day basis. In terms of the business, I think it's a good idea to see what everyone else in the industry is doing, because there may be some opportunities that you could potentially start tapping into. I think understanding the industry is something that comes quite natural for a lot of business owners. They know what their competitors are doing, they know what their partners are doing, and it's important to decide for yourself if you want to sort of run in that same direction or actually think something else. I'm finding that a lot of businesses right now are trying to be quite conservative. They're trying to focus more on optimizing the business. They're trying to focus more on understanding, what others are doing so they can do something very similar. Well, I think overall, doing something similar than everybody else will potentially get you a similar result or worse, typically worse, because oftentimes you don't know the rest of the strategy or what the competitors are executing. So I think it's very important to work out your own strategy. What's the plan? What is it that you want as a business? And what does the industry look like? What does the market look like? What does the technology around your industry looks like? And how can you actually align that into a plan? If this is something you struggle with, feel free to reach out. I'd love to have a chat about what you guys are doing. But overall, I'm finding that 2023 was quite an interesting year. It was quite tough in terms of the customer decision-making process. People would obviously think twice before they pull out their wallet. And, when it comes to sort of bigger accounts, anything to do with, I guess, finance was, something that required a little bit more decision-making behind the scenes. So, that's just how things were. And I think economically, we're probably in a very sort of normal state right now. I mean, some things have obviously gone up, but at the end of the day, I can see some consistency. So I think trying to find consistency in your business will only align you with the rest of the economy. If that's what you want, that's fine. I think most businesses, though, would really want to grow and potentially get to another level. So how can you achieve that? Well, I think you really need to start by asking questions, and it's the good questions or the right questions that get you the right answers or get you closer to where you want to be. So, next time you're networking, next time you're catching up with people that support and inspire you, ask them, what is it that potentially you should be doing as a business? What are your challenges? If you're in the mastermind format, I often, share what I'm working on and ask people, what they think. And oftentimes you get some really interesting answers that at least get you a little bit more exposed to what other options are. Because oftentimes we just think that we're like a hostage of a situation. We've got nowhere to go and there's nothing else that you could actually be doing. So start asking those questions. That's my biggest advice for you. So rather than just setting goals and trying to sort of focus on those goals, start with holidays, start with a bit of leisure, start with a bit of fun, and I'm sure the year will unfold and you'll be able to achieve those particular milestones and have a good time. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't really remember the financial gains that they get through the year. If in 10 years' time, you're going to think back, how was this year compared to the other one? Well, you're probably not going to remember very much, but I'm sure you'll remember the time that you went to, to farm stay or some sort of a getaway with your family and what you did there as well. And this is obviously the reward of your business. This is how the business rewards you for working very hard. So think about it that way. I think it's sometimes important to align your thinking with, I guess, the milestones around what it is that you do and understand the logic behind what you do as well. Because oftentimes I find people get quite tired and stressed because they don't really see the logic in what they do and how that sort of results into what they want to achieve. And look, sometimes things can be stale, and that's not always a bad thing. But at the same time, any business owner wants growth, and it's the change that we really buy. So creating change, paying for change is really what drives the economy and develops businesses. So I just thought I'd share some thoughts with you about 2024, and for us as my agency, Your Easy Web Solutions, or Use, we're focusing more on AI automation and consolidating all of the marketing in the one single space. We are playing with a system called Go High Level right now. And I'm pretty confident that this is a system that we're going to be using for our clients moving forward because it provides a lot of functionality and a lot of features that help us bridge the gap between the marketing and the sales process. I think one of those key things is SMS notification, which at the moment some businesses use quite well, while others don't use them at all. But when it comes to sales, I think one of the key steps that's being left out is really the qualifying process. Once the lead is received, what happens to that lead before a conversation is being made with a customer? And is there something that could be potentially automated in order to warm that lead up or get some additional information from that lead in order to, be able to get to the next stage faster? And I think sometimes, people want to ask questions, but they really wait for that, one-to-one conversation. And then people make the inquiry one day as the customers, and then the business owner gets back to them another time. And sometimes that moment is lost. So I think it's about being in that moment and making sure that you can time things properly in order to extract the right information to get the results that you want. Anyway, I'm looking forward to 2024 and lots of content. If you have any guests or if you have any ideas for as topics for my podcast, please reach out. I would love to include them. And as always, don't forget to share my podcast with other business owners or your friends or anyone who's interested. I think that together we can make a positive change. And that's what I'm all about. Anyway, my name is Alexei. This is Better Business Podcast. I'll chat to you soon.